NieR Automata is my favorite game of all time. It's my big secret, I probably haven't mentioned it before. Its creator and game director is this masked man who Yoko Taro'd his way into my heart by mixing provocative androids with existentialist philosophy. After experiencing his crowning achievement, his magnum opus, I had to know, what else is there? Something this good has to be a mistake, right? A once-in-a-generation masterwork that took a lifetime to conceive? Oh he's a genius, lock him up, NieR is incredible. It's too bad there's only 2 games. I guess I've seen the full extent of Taro's mind. There's nothing left for me. What's that? No. No, that can't be real. No! Yes. The NieR series is a joke-ending spin-off from a much less successful franchise, Drakengard, aka Dragon Dragoon. NieR is to Drakengard what Persona is to Shin Megami Tensei, what Fire Emblem is to chess. And if you haven't played it, it might surprise you to learn that Drakengard 3 released in between these 2 games. It was a stepping stone for the NieR franchise, an extremely important one. NieR Automata would not be anywhere near as great as it is without Drakengard 3. In fact, I'd go as far as saying Drakengard 3, which was a prequel to Drakengard 1, was a bigger step towards Automata's existence than even the first NieR. But we'll get more into that later. Everything that I heard about this game was that it sucked. Cavia was a mediocre studio, and most of their games are remembered as either cult classics or total train wrecks. Positive coverage of this game is a rarity. I'm going in fully convinced that it's not worth playing because everyone on the internet says
just watch the cutscenes, dude.
But Drakengard 3 was a Yoko Taro game, and the most modern one that I hadn't played, so I bought it and thought, yeah, I'm never gonna play this. But one day I just tripped and I hate that I loved that. Drakengard 3 opens with a deceptively high-quality CGI cutscene where the protagonist is established. She's a menace. For vague, seemingly bloodthirsty reasons, Zero wants to murder her sisters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, who combine to make up the 6 Intonars and all of my passwords. Intonars are essentially goddesses of the land that wield the power of song to protect humanity. Her goal can only be achieved with the help of her dragon, Michael, who dies immediately. He reincarnates into Mikhail, a baby dragon who Zero relentlessly verbally abuses for the game's 20-hour duration.
Knock it off! How many times have I told you? Don't roll around in the fucking mud! You're an idiot.
Hey, Zero! I think I feel cold.
I'm not gonna lose!
Really? I'm surprised you feel anything through that thick head of yours. You just did, dummy. God damn it, dragon. Higher! Keep flying!
She's mean. It really sets up Zero as an anti-hero to be hated rather than just some misunderstood outsider. She's truly awful.
Zero! There's a dragon in the river!
That's your reflection.
Huh? It is? Oh. We'll never... Ah! Ah!
And speaking of awful, Drakengard's gameplay is a mix of Dynasty Warriors and Panzer Dragoon. My first impression was that it was pretty bad, but not as bad as people made it out to be. It's very obvious the gap between Access games and Platinum games in making 2013 action gameplay, but Yoko Taro wasn't quite there yet, give them a break. I wasn't actually planning on playing through this game, but I was a little hooked and wanted to see how bad it could get. Also, keep in mind I was playing on a PS3 emulator, so the original performance issues were barely there. Zero's first target is her sister 5, who governs the Land of Seas.
What kind of sister is 5?
The slutty kind.
What's slutty mean?
It means all she thinks about is dirty stuff.
Oh, so she's just like you.
The banter between Zero and Mikhail is a little hard to watch, but it was around this point where I realized the game is actually really kind of funny.
The only thing funny is how dumb you are.
Most of the comedy in Drakengard 3 revolves around that awesome thing we've all had. Sex. Not only are the Intonars sex-crazed in their own unique ways, they're each paired with a disciple designed to regulate their sex drives. Yeah, it's abnormal, but it's pretty funny too.
Oh, don't be such a prude, 4. A good catfight really gets my juices flowing. Wow.
Once Zero finally reaches 5, you meet her disciple Dito.
She's dead! She's dead! She's dead! You sure loved working me to the bone, didn't you? Well, your little disciple won't be taking your abuse anymore!
He becomes the first party member, and the game starts to show its hand. Killing a sister rewards Zero with a new freak to build up the worst JRPG party ever imagined.
A dummy, a psycho, a waste of space, and a pervert. Yeah, we're a merry band, all right.
That's mean, Zero. I'm not the pervert, am I?
Let's check in on what I was thinking about the game at this point. Hey, past self, how are we feeling now? No, yeah, I'm starting to pick up the combat. It's not that bad. The chakras are awesome. I really like how tight the combos are. Dragon combat is super high, but you can jump off the ground. Whoa, okay. Hey, you're losing the plot here, dude. Can't be enjoying it yet. The next two disciples Zero adds to her collection are Decadus and Octa, a masochist and an old man.
All right, Grandpa, you ready to get crushed?
If you only knew the surprise I've got in store for you! I surrender.
You what?
I surrender. I came here because I want to join your cause.
Once they've been given a bit of screen time, it starts to sink in that aside from a splash of bloodshed, these characters only care about f***ing. They can't stop talking about it, probably thinking about it, and allegedly doing it. I didn't actually check, but I'll say at least 68% of their mission banter is sexual. It starts to get a little much, and I think Zero agrees.
Not now, Octa. I've got a headache.
I was just engaging in some dirty thoughts while fighting.
Well, knock it off and concentrate already. These guys are fucking weird.
You said it.
Of course, who am I to talk? Look at you guys. Here they are, the root of all this evil.
The root of all this evil? Seriously, Z, who talks like that?
Shut up and fight. Can I swap you guys out for a new party?
Zero's own distaste towards the party members was one of the first moments where the game's cover started to slip. She was no longer this vile killing machine who was impossible to relate to, but was directly sharing my own thoughts. With Mikhail in the beginning, Zero's treatment of him is uncomfortable because he's just this innocent dragon reminiscent of Emil. You have no prior relationship with Mikhail or Michael and can't empathize with Zero since she seems like an irrational jerk. Everyone else that joins later on is increasingly terrible to the point where I would understand if someone couldn't make it through the game because they found them too obnoxious to bear. But they're also funny.
Trivia time! Did you know 16% of human breath consists of harmful chemicals?
No, I've never heard that.
I wouldn't think so. This is my first time hearing it too. No!
And stupid, and there's a charm to how distant they are from what you'd expect in a JRPG-like game. Zero doesn't like any of these people, and you probably shouldn't either, but I still do. Zero hating on her only friends wasn't where her relatability ended.
I'm tired of this shit. This is so annoying. These necromancers are a bunch of less grammars.
Zero, what is it? Are you okay? Are you hurt?
No, I'm sighing. This is such a pain in the ass. God damn it. What is this, a fucking petting zoo? What a drain. Who comes up with this shit?
But alas, I fear it will be even trickier from here on out.
Son of a bitch. Not this platform shit again.
This will require both quick reflexes and extreme patience.
I'd rather just break him in half and bury him along with this whole damn place.
These guys again? I'm getting sick of this.
You and me both.
Come on, Z, let's get this over with.
Hate it, hate it, hate it! Oh, come on. We're still not done with this?
My lady, please remain calm. Anger will solve nothing here.
Fuck.
Yeah, okay, Zero, the game's not perfect. I started to feel a little insane in these moments because the more I played, the more I liked what Drakengard 3 was. The repetition of the game loop deepened with every mission, but each of them ended on gripping cliffhangers. I was on the edge of my seat every single time, held hostage by a game that dangled a carrot of sanity in front of my face as the story unraveled. But as I'm slowly being fooled by the game and myself into thinking I'm having fun, Zero pushed back. You know that part in both NieR games where they say you can't fast travel and one of the characters complains? Drakengard 3 is a game-length version of that awkward self-awareness. And you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds terrible. Drakengard 3 revels in self-irony and awareness of its own shortcomings and the established tropes it chooses to further. While Zero's personality is so much defined by how she hates the bad stuff in the game, she doesn't like repeating stuff, she doesn't like the platforming, she doesn't like her party, it's never annoying. It's always a mirror pointing towards the player in some way, and it's especially not the quirky hand-waving of, haha, we acknowledge our flaws, so it's okay. An aura of self-awareness throughout all of Drakengard 3 breaks down the fourth wall at the same pace as Zero's character progression. It's done in a way that's simultaneously very similar and completely different from NieR.
So we just bash this box up while it's open? Why the hell do I get experience for that?
But seriously, what's powering all this?
I wonder.
Let me guess, magic, right? You know how it goes. Weird shit like this always gets written off as magic.
Perhaps our foes are using magic to amplify the sun's rays.
Here we go again with the magic. Real fucking convenient.
This may not be the wisest course of action.
Relax. I got this.
Please, reconsider, my lady. None would think lesser of you.
Enough already. I said I got this. What kind of an idiot do you take me for? Watch and learn, chumps. Don't say a word.
Oh, I wasn't gonna. No, I told you so. No, look how stupid you are. Nope. My lips are sealed.
The platforming sections aren't even that bad. I'm great at them. I don't know about her. The characters also aren't that bad, and the gameplay and the combat and the story, even Zero's thirst for blood. I'm sorry, but maybe Zero is just a girl boss who gate-kept hard enough for Dragon Dragoon to gaslight its way into my heart. Oh god. As I furthered into the narrative of Drakengard 3, my feelings on every element alternated by the chapter. Every bit of the game, aside from the story, was inarguably not that good, but I couldn't ignore how much I had grown to enjoy them. It was funny, it was gross, it charmed me, it sickened me, I was addicted and annoyed. It was a melting pot of everything simultaneously great and terrible. So why was it that Zero was the first to point out every one of its flaws? Does this mean its creators knew that Drakengard 3 was a bad video game? That doesn't make sense though. You don't create a story and characters around the fact that they're bad because they'd have to be bad already, which wouldn't happen in the design phase. The gameplay too, it's clearly competent as a playable video game, but it's like it goes out of its way to mess with you, to make you uncomfortable, just as the characters have been. So it's intentional? Is Drakengard 3 bad on purpose? Or less charitably, is it good on accident? I had this thought pretty early on that it was trying to be bad on purpose, but that didn't feel right. I thought it didn't make sense to make something bad in the first place. Wouldn't you be able to better convey your narrative through something good? And beyond that, you can't just play the self-awareness card to sweep away criticism in an effort to claim it was intentionally done for a greater purpose, right? As I neared the end of the game, it started to become clear, but it wasn't until Drakengard 3's final boss that I became fully confident that the use of intentionally bad game design was a legitimate thing. The finale of Drakengard 3 is the closest I have ever seen a game get to having a direct dialogue between the player and its creators. I said previously that repetition can be used by a game to deepen your connection with it, to the point where you can become friends with the game itself, allowing it to not only comfort you, but prank you. If you've played Drakengard 3, you know what I'm getting at. I need to show you the final ending of the game. So if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to the time on screen. Just know that Drakengard 3 ends with a very good prank. To reach ending D, Zero is required to collect every weapon in the game. This is extremely tedious. Once you finally have all of them and begin the chapter, she seals away the flower and her sisters through a long, instant fill rhythm game with no checkpoints that uses none of the weapons you had to find to reach it. That's hilarious. This is a beautiful, emotional story conclusion because of Zero's tragic character arc with the stunning visuals and soulful music. But the developers are laughing at you. You should probably laugh along. I'm not gonna pretend I'm not impressed. I think this 8-minute section is more interesting with more thoughtful design and cinematography than a lot of full video games. And I'm only kind of exaggerating. As it slowly builds up difficulty to such an extreme, randomly blocking your view and mixing up timings, it's as if you can hear these people pointing and laughing at you all the way from 2013 Japan. And then the game fades to black and you sigh in relief, letting all the tension finally leave your body, only for the notes to slowly continue behind the dialogue that you can hardly make out through the tears.
Isn't that hilarious? Doesn't it make you laugh?
I still felt like there was a bit of a chicken and egg situation going on here. Games are developed linearly, mostly, and tightly planned, so why would the initial concept of a game involve being difficult to play, tedious, offensive? I believe it does work to serve the narrative within Drakengard, but which came first, the desire to make a bad game, or the all-powerful budget and development prowess that would have halted incredible gameplay in the first place? There's almost a sense that Yoko Taro and the other creators of Drakengard knew that what they had the resources to create wouldn't be that good and decided to lean into it, and it just so happened that this lined up with wanting to tell a story that rejected game traditions such as the glorification of killing. A story of such emotional richness wouldn't be put into just any game. Taro has said that his process involves backward script writing. He decides on an emotion or an event that happens at the end and then figures out how to get there. I think this concept translates into gameplay direction, as both NieR and Drakengard feel like they had stories made first and then shaped the gameplay to serve it, opposite to how most games are made. Because of this, I don't think the egg or the chicken came first. I think the concept of the chicken came first, and both parts were formed at the same time, knowing from the start the eggshell was going to be cracked. Does this metaphor make any sense? Gameplay is the egg and story is the chicken, I think. This philosophy continued all the way into Automata. They had the talent at Platinum Games with the ability to create top-tier action gameplay, but they still exercised restraint in its design. 2B is a battle unit with full destructive desires, so she got the most fleshed out moveset. Ninus as a scanner hesitant about killing and didn't find combat as enjoyable, so his options are gimped and the player's likely to have less fun killing, just like him. Dialogue could have been removed entirely and each character's affinity towards killing would still be obvious in the way they control. Restricting a game mechanically is a great way to force empathy onto the player because even though they can ignore the cutscenes, music, writing, it's impossible to ignore the emotions drawn out by gameplay, positive or negative. Other great games have tried similar things. Death Stranding pulled a historic twist of yes, that's actually the game after Hideo Kojima released an action game where the intricate gameplay systems were inside Norman Reedus' legs. It's a story about a post-apocalyptic United States where people barely make contact and package delivery was key to saving the world. I was working as a delivery driver when I played this game in 2020, and the irony was not lost on me. My unique experience of returning from real labor to act out a dramatized version of it probably added to the experience since the themes are more relevant than Kojima could have ever imagined. While I think most people have warmed up to what Death Stranding is, the frustration-based gameplay will forever leave a large number of players with a bad impression. Shadow of the Colossus is another anti-game that drove a lot of the early discussion around video games as an art form. It was released a couple years after Drakengard and uses its similarly subversive narrative and minimalist aesthetic to convey its themes by rejecting gaming tropes. Both Wander and Kame fit the archetype of a warrior hero, which adds to the shock value when they deconstruct it. I'd be remiss to not mention Evangelion and its subversion of anime tropes, but I also don't really want to talk about Evangelion, so I'll just point out that there's a lot of interesting similarities in themes and design due to the Drakengard series being inspired by the show early on. But getting back to NieR, because that seems to be what I'm best at, Drakengard took its JRPG trope subversion to an extreme much farther beyond its spin-off franchise, even though it's not even really a JRPG. It emphasizes this with an overwhelming self-consciousness and self-loathing shared by Drakengard 3 and 0, and the player, where it avoids the genre's tropes so that it can darkly celebrate the ones it picks out to satirize. With the NieR games, I think mostly everything they do to subvert game tropes is done in a way that feels satisfying in the end. In Drakengard, it still feels ultimately bad, just serving a similar purpose, but at the end of all of this, is it even fair to call Drakengard 3's bad elements bad if they build up to something that feels good? Since I believe NieR Automata wouldn't exist as such an anomaly without Drakengard 3 coming before it, then you can't have the good without the bad. Can something that caused so much good truly be considered bad? How can something be bad if it was essential to creating good? The purposeful roughness of Drakengard 3 adding up to pseudo-masochistic pleasure and its missteps acting as a prototype for a masterpiece. Do other people feel this way, or am I talking to a void? Do I even know anything about games or myself? What I like, what I hate, what I love, what I like, what I dislike, what I love? Who are you to say what makes a game good? Drakengard 3 is the best game I have ever played. Drakengard 3 is the worst game of all time. NieR Automata is my favorite video game. No one in their right mind thinks that boring game is good. Video games aren't real. But I like them. They feel real. Did you know? Super Mario Bros. 2 was originally called Doki Doki Panic in Japan. It's the third game in a series. I think always the best. Xenoblade 3 comes out the way some fans imagine.
I hope NieR 3 blows my brains
Maybe the
out.
shocking death in Last of Us 3 will be the gamer themselves.
Why is everyone a critic?
Has the world conditioned us into thinking everything wants to be judged simply for existing? Blame Metacritic and Letterboxd. Opinions are your own facts, but nothing you believe in is real. Sometimes things can just be. Does requiring critical thinking skills come off as pretentious? No, is it even possible for most people to relearn how to consume? Literally everything is made up and you're gonna die someday, but you're sitting alone on your bed playing pee pee poo poo dragon. A prequel to its franchise, has a protagonist named Zero and titled it Drakengard 3. It would have been less offensive if they let him name it Drakengard 4. Love and hate ride along a thin line, masquerading as opposites. To what can actually be considered art. I don't think I will hate pays.
Nitpicking and bias. Hey, how are you?
Maybe just have fun? That would be the wrong way to enjoy Drakengard 3. You're a well, if I'm a I hope is real so you can be into playing Drakengard 3 for the rest of your life. Welcome back to another episode of Wait, what was the point of Drakengard 3? NieR's commentary covers the sphere of humanity and uses its interactive narrative to convey ideas about the human condition. Drakengard seems to have little to say about the greater world outside the one it contains, speaking only about video games themselves. But indirectly, breaking down a medium of art created by humans still talks broadly about humanity's voice, giving Drakengard the open-endedness of having everything to say about it. Our deep-rooted beliefs we formed in the short existence of games say X is what makes a game fun, Y is what makes a game good, killing is fun and good and important. Drakengard 3 is a painful journey for both Zero and the player that rejects these preconceptions. I wholeheartedly consider Yoko Taro a creative genius. Observing his published works and interviews reveals a far deeper understanding of his art form than the majority of people that get paid to make these things. He sees the tight boundaries of expression that are considered acceptable and wants to break past them at a time where most don't even want to acknowledge the boundaries are there. When The Last of Us Part 2 broke a barrier of comfort already done before by directors like Taro and Kojima, it broke gamers' brains, eating away at their collective consciousness. And in a medium in such an infancy as video games, titles that break the norm and try to push against the invisible walls in an incredibly monopolized and homogenized space should be celebrated. Transgressive art has long been marked as pretentious or subversive for the sake of it. Drakengard 3 has cynicism about its own existence, and it should be allowed to, just as anyone should. I have little doubt that no matter what I say, people who refuse to watch more than 10 seconds of this video will rush to throw the word pretentious at Drakengard and Yoko Taro. And maybe they're right. If it's pretentious to try to make the player have an internal dialogue or even a single thought, then so be it. Make more pretentious games. Do it until video games no longer have to defend their creative validity and mold to the confines of successful consumerism. Do it until you've pushed far enough that the wider population can no longer ignore it. Going into Drakengard 3, I had a glimmer of hope I was about to witness a brand new journey of Yoko Taroisms, just as I had experienced when I played Replicant after Automata. When I discovered Drakengard 3 contained all of the unique things I love about NieR done in almost equally great and simultaneously distinct ways, something broke in my brain, and there was no going back. I loved this game. Drakengard 3 is not a masterpiece by any means. Wait, you know what? Yes, it is. I will confidently say that Drakengard 3 has the most well-executed, thought-provoking bad game design attempted in any video game, surpassing the titans of nihilistic defiance like Shadow of the Colossus and the original NieR. Don't get me wrong, this game is truly deranged. It's sex-crazed, it's gross, but that's the point, and I wouldn't wish it any other way. If NieR is a romantic tragedy, Drakengard is an unromantic comedy, and just as it has been said that there could be no comedy without tragedy, the genre-defining brilliance of NieR Automata would not exist without Drakengard 3. I won't claim that people should care about Drakengard or treat it as some kind of hidden gem, a misunderstood paragon of gaming, but because of its immense, unsung significance to the evolution of games as an artistically interesting medium, Drakengard 3 is unfortunately one of my favorite games of all time. Thank you so much for watching. After I played Drakengard 3 earlier this year, I knew I couldn't not make a video about it, and I'm really glad I did it before tackling NieR Replicant. I'm actually really interested to hear if any of you have played Drakengard 3 or the other two games and what you think of them, because I'm sure opinions on the series vary a lot. So please leave a comment if you have anything to say. If you want my honest, non-performative take on Drakengard 3, I'll say I do think it's fascinating. Hope that helps. Subscribe, like, and swipe right if you enjoyed.